Break out the fall candles and the pumpkin spice lattes because fall is officially here. Kind of. I'm Rebecca Virginia, and today I'm going to be showing you affordable Dollar Tree fall DIYs. Let's get started. I saw a similar trio of stacked pumpkins at one of my favorite stores, Kirklands, but it was retailing for about $70. So using 3 of the $1.25 pumpkins from the Dollar Tree, I'm going to show you how you can transform them to be a high-end dupe for an item at Kirklands. Let's get started, and first off, we are going to take a pumpkin from last year. So as you can see, this pumpkin is already painted because I kept it from last year. I used it in a Halloween DIY, so I am repurposing it. And first, I am just cutting a hole in the top of it. It's a styrofoam pumpkin, so it was really easy to do. Then I took this burlap bag that I had. It's from burlapfabrics.com. They have really great affordable burlap items. And I just took this bag, and so you kind of just have to mess around with the burlap fabric. I pulled it around the pumpkin and then pushed the fabric through the top. And you don't have to worry about the top of it because this is going to be the bottom stacked pumpkin. So, just kind of push the burlap fabric into that center hole in the pumpkin and you're good to go. Next, we're going to really make those indentations in the pumpkin stand out. So I took some of this jute twine, also from Surprise Surprise Burlap Fabrics. So I am just going all around this. It was a little bit difficult just because you really have to feel where the indentations are in the pumpkin since it's covered in burlap. And again, it doesn't have to be pretty because we're going to be covering it up. With our middle pumpkin, I just painted it white with some matte white chalk paint. And I'm kind of doing the same thing that I did on the previous pumpkin. I'm going around those indentations with the jute or twine. And this time, instead of going around just once or twice, I'm going around about 3 times so that you can really see the jute a lot more. And it was much easier to do on this pumpkin because I could actually see the indentations in it. And then at the top, again, you don't have to worry about it being pretty because we're going to cover that up. So starting with our base pumpkin, we have the burlap one, and then our middle pumpkin is going to be white with the jute markings. And for the top pumpkin, I took the shade Sky Blue by Folk Art, and I painted the last pumpkin to go on top. And although all 3 of these pumpkins are the exact same size, I kind of found that because I covered the bottom one in burlap, it almost made it look larger, which I really liked that effect too. And just to add a little bit more of the outside to this DIY, I took some Spanish moss, which of course I picked up from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just adding that around in between the white and the blue pumpkin to just add a little bit of more of a rustic touch. Now, you can be done with the DIY here, but I wanted to show a style that you could also do if you wanted it to be a little bit more elevated. So here we have the pumpkin on its own, but then to kind of add a riser to it, I took a wire basket and put some pumpkins and leaves underneath. This next DIY is definitely the cutest one in the video, especially if you think about where it started. It is an old pickle jar that I turned into this really adorable Scarecrow flower holder. I took an old pickle jar. It is the perfect size. I was looking for a mason jar, but didn't want to buy one when I had a perfectly good pickle jar here. And to cover our pickle jar, I'm going in with a brown paint. This is the shade Territorial Beige by Folk Art mixed in with Burnt Umber by Folk Art. And once that was all good and dry, and make sure it's completely dry, I went in with some paint pens and some actual paint from Dollar Tree, and I just started to create my Scarecrow face. I didn't want to spend too much time showing you how to do it because you will be able to see the end result. So if you want to just copy the face that I did, you'll be able to tell that from the pictures and the video. But this is the part where you get to be creative and just kind of create your own fun Scarecrow face. Then I made a bow and I tied it with a bit of this really tiny brown ribbon, and I left it kind of messy and scraggly because, you know, our Scarecrow is a little bit messy. They're full of hay and they've, you know, been out in the field working. And then I gave her a little sunflower in the center of her bow, and you'll also notice that I added some eyelashes on because I wanted to make my Scarecrow a girl Scarecrow. And I completed this DIY by filling it up with some sunflowers that I also picked up at the Dollar Tree. This is another DIY that kind of took some inspiration from some higher end DIYs. I've seen the window frames in Hobby Lobby, then I saw some really cute truck wreaths at Kirklands, so I kind of combined both of the ideas and turned it into this Farm Fresh sign. To start off, I took 4 of the canvases from Dollar Tree. These are the smaller ones. And I would also recommend maybe checking out your local Walmart. I picked up these canvases back when it was still only $1, but Walmart might have them for 99 cents. I gave the wood frames a light stain using Waverly Antique Stain, and then I hot glued the frames together so we had this window looking effect. Next up, I picked up one of the wood trucks from the Crafters Square section at Dollar Tree and gave it a makeover using one of the Farm Fresh signs that I got in a wood pack with some other fun fall sayings and different signs. So I decorated my truck. And then I created this bow. I will leave a tutorial linked above. This is one of my favorite kind of bows to recreate, and I gave a really in-depth tutorial around Christmas time last year. So I'll have that linked not only in the description box, but above too. So if you want to follow my bow tutorial, that is how you can get it. Then I have a ton of different fall florals from Dollar Tree. So I mixed together some pine cones, some grass, then I grabbed some raffia. And I wanted the raffia to be kind of messy, so I just tied it in a knot and hot glued it. Then I picked up, I'm not even sure what these are, some sort of plant. They're like the styrofoam balls, but I got those from Dollar Tree too. I have them in some cool colors for Halloween, but I went with the burlap pumpkins and just the regular orange styrofoam ball plant. Let me know in the comments down below, what plant is this? What is it trying to be? But I was really happy with how this whole DIY turned out in the end. Next up is a little bit more subtle of a DIY. If you're not into the super out there fall stuff, you know, maybe not all the pumpkins, this does have pumpkins, but I think it's a little bit more subtle and you can use it all throughout the beginning of fall and then well into the Thanksgiving season. So we are going to take yet another pickle jar and transform it into a pretty DIY. I painted the entire pickle jar brown using the color Territorial Beige by Folk Art. And now I am creating some kind of buffalo check, but then I kind of went off script and did my own thing. But I have a super in-depth, detailed video showing you how to get traditional buffalo check. So I'm gonna link that above and below because I go a lot slower and really show you how to do this. But essentially, you are just going to take your jar, paint it a color, I chose brown. Then you're going to place your tape horizontally and vertically and paint it one color, in this case, white. Then you are going to go over it again horizontally and go in with your next color. I chose in orange, and you'll see in the reveal, I actually went back. I didn't like the 2 areas of white. In a traditional kind of buffalo check, you're just going to have 3 colors, usually a gray, a black, and a white. But in this one, I wanted to have a little bit more fun, so I went with 4 colors, a brown, a white, and then a light and a dark orange. So you will see that in just a moment. So if you want to follow it like me, you can do what I did in this video. But if you do want that traditional buffalo check, don't worry, I got you on that one too, and I'll have that link below. I popped these pumpkins off of the Dollar Tree floral picks that they came on and took the color Agave by Waverly and painted them that color. Then to finish off our jar once it was dry, I wrapped all around it on the top section with some jute that I had, and I didn't want to fire up my hot glue gun, so I just used a little bit of tape to secure that to the inside of the jar. Then to distress it and give it a bit more of that rustic fall look, I grabbed an apple barrel chip brush that I had and some white paint to distress the jar. Then the final step was upon us. It was time to add in the floral picks to the jar and style it. So I placed in 2 of these picks from Dollar Tree that have the pumpkins hanging off them, but I pulled off the orange pumpkins and replaced them with the blue ones that I had just painted. And then I found these really fun pom-pom looking floral picks from the Dollar Tree. So I also included a couple of those in the jar. I thought they just added a really fun texture to the entire DIY. This DIY is a super easy one, but I think it adds a really fun temporary fall touch to any candle that you currently have hanging around your house. Like I said, this is a very quick DIY. I grabbed a candle that I already had and one of the window cling sheets from Dollar Tree. I thought this candle decal that said pumpkin spice was absolutely perfect for this project, and it's seriously as simple as just placing the window cling onto the candle. I love this because I have used my Cricut on some of these candles before, but that's not always a temporary solution. This one's so easy, it comes off really easy, so you can change it throughout the seasons. You don't have to worry about anything being sticky or hard to remove. It's so easy to just replace it with another seasonal window cling. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, keep searching, keep creating.